It was a Thursday night when the call came. Daniel's voice was shaky, low, the kind of tone you use when you know you've crossed a line you can't uncross. "Alex, I need help," he said, skipping the pleasantries. "They're going to kill me." I froze. "They?" He didn't need to explain. I could already see it, the kind of men who don't send polite reminders about money. The kind who smile without warmth and speak in short, quiet sentences. "How much?" I asked. 25,000, he whispered. "I have until tomorrow." That number hit me like a punch. I didn't have that kind of cash sitting around. But I did have a car, a small apartment, and a line of credit that hadn't yet been maxed out. By morning, I had sold the first, mortgaged the second, and drained the third. I met him in the parking lot of an old diner, the kind that smells like burnt coffee and cheap bacon. He looked like hell pale, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool night air. I handed him the envelope. His hands trembled when he took it. "Last time, Danny," I told him. "I mean it." His eyes glistened. "I promise. Last time." He hugged me, his arms tight around my shoulders, and for a moment I believed him. I wanted to believe him. I wanted the story to end there. Big brother saves little brother, the end. But I should have remembered something Dad once said, a man who's drowning doesn't care who he pulls under, as long as he gets air. I saved my brother from debt, but he accused me of theft and kicked me out of the family. I've always known my younger brother was the weak link. Not weak in the way a child is fragile, but weak in the way a drowning man will drag down anyone who tries to save him. And for as long as I can remember, I've been the one reaching into the water. When our father died, the roles in our family shifted overnight. Mom collapsed under the weight of grief and bills, and my brother, Daniel, began to unravel. I was 23 then, working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. Daniel was 19, chasing bad friends, bad debts, and bad decisions. He had this knack for making promises he couldn't keep, and I had a knack for believing him anyway. It started small, paying off a traffic ticket here, covering his rent there. Each time, he swore it was the last time. But there was always a next time. I'd bail him out, he'd breathe easy for a week, and then some new disaster would find him. I told myself it was family loyalty. That's what Dad would have wanted, the older brother protecting the younger. But deep down, I think I was addicted to being the savior. I needed him to need me. Looking back, I realized that need was a noose I tied around my own neck. The thing about helping someone like Daniel is that the rescues get bigger, the costs higher. And in the end, the only person drowning is you. 3 months later, my phone woke me at 6 a.m., not with a call, but with a flood of notifications. Texts, emails, social media tags. At first, I thought it was some kind of mistake. But then I saw it, a video, already spreading online like wildfire. Grainy footage, a timestamp in the corner, and me, or rather, someone who looked like me, opening the old family safe in Mom's living room. The angle was perfect, my face clear, my hands stuffing envelopes of cash into a backpack. It wasn't real. I knew it wasn't real. But it didn't matter. By the time I made it to Mom's house, she was standing at the door, eyes swollen from crying. Behind her, Daniel leaned against the wall, arms crossed, a look on his face I couldn't place, somewhere between satisfaction and pity. "Why?" Mom's voice cracked. "After everything we've been through, why would you steal from your own family?" "Mom, it's fake." I started. "Enough," she snapped. "I saw it with my own eyes." I looked to Daniel. "Tell her. You know it's not true." He met my gaze, held it for a long second, then looked away. I don't know, Alex. The video's pretty clear." And that was it. One sentence from him, and the ground fell out from under me. By the end of that day, I wasn't just unwelcome, I was erased. Mom packed my things into black trash bags, left them on the porch, and told me not to come back. Neighbors avoided eye contact. Friends stopped answering my calls. My own family group chat removed me without a word. Daniel's story spread faster than I could keep up. I'd stolen the last of Dad's savings, money set aside for Mom's medical bills. It was perfect, emotional, tragic, and impossible to disprove once the seed was planted. The worst part? I still didn't know why. Until one night, when I got a message from an old contact, a man I'd once paid off to settle one of Daniel's gambling debts. He told me Daniel still owed him money. Big money. It clicked. Daniel hadn't just thrown me under the bus. He'd parked it on my chest to make room for himself to breathe. That was the night I stopped thinking like a brother. That was the night I started thinking like an enemy. If there's one thing I learned from bailing Daniel out over the years, it's that his vices don't go away, they just change shape. I started small. Anonymous tips to his business partners about irregularities in his accounts. Quiet whispers at bars he liked to visit. Within weeks, I could see it working. Calls not returned, deals put on hold. Then I found his new creditor, a man far more dangerous than the last. I met him for coffee, told him I could help keep tabs on Daniel. I didn't need to lie much. Just nudge him in the right direction. And all the while, I kept collecting. Screenshots. Audio recordings. Copies of documents he thought were hidden. I wasn't just going to ruin his reputation. I was going to strip it bare in front of the one person whose opinion he valued most, Mom. Mom's birthday came in early spring. Daniel booked a fancy restaurant, invited everyone. I made sure I was invited too, by convincing Mom that maybe we could finally put things behind us. Halfway through dinner, I stood up, walked to the big projector screen, and plugged in a USB drive. The first clip was the original theft video, then, side by side, the raw footage from the house camera I'd pulled from an old cloud backup. In my version, you could see Daniel entering the living room alone, punching in the safe code, and pocketing the money. Gasps. Utensils clinking onto plates. Mom's hand covering her mouth. Then came the screenshots of his debts. His gambling history. His text messages arranging the video's fabrication. Every truth he'd buried, dragged into the light. Daniel sat frozen, pale and silent, as the last image faded from the screen. When it was over, the silence was heavier than any shouting could have been. Mom stood, walked past Daniel without a glance, and hugged me, the first real hug in years. But I wasn't done. I leaned down to Daniel's ear. "Do you remember what you said to me the day you kicked me out?" I whispered. "You said, you made your choice." I straightened, turned to leave, and left him sitting there, alone, with nothing but the wreckage he'd built for himself. Walking out of that restaurant, I felt lighter. Not because I'd won, but because I finally stopped carrying him. Some family bonds can't be mended. And some brothers deserve to drown.